All right, here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Running with Wolves. I'm super excited because today I have an incredible guest with me. So Jess is a former celebrity personal trainer and elementary school teacher, and she turned into the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. So we're super excited to have Jess with us today. So Jess, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always so funny when people introduce me like that. I'm like, oh, I'm just like a normal person. I guess it's pretty cool what we have done. But yeah, like you said, I'm a coach and mentor for people who are really looking to come online, pivot online, turn what they have, their expertise, lived experience into coaching programs is really where we focus. My team and I are definitely marketing experts, especially with small followings. And we really are huge advocates of the one to many approach. So we're huge advocates for group coaching and courses, anything like that, which is what we love. But like you said, yeah, I was a trainer. I'm a physical therapy dropout. That's what I went to school for. I worked in the fashion industry. I've actually lived a lot of different lives. So worked as an elementary school teacher for 8 years and have been doing this now 12 years part-time, 7 years full-time, which is crazy. So I'm definitely like a grandma in the industry, being around for 12 years. But I get to work with my husband, which is really fun. He came into the business in 2020. We have an incredible team of both executive leadership team as well as 14 different coaches. And that's it. I'm like, we were nomads for a couple years, so we just settled into a home that we'll see how long we stay. We don't have a good track record, but currently 29 weeks pregnant with our first. I'm a dog mom, and that's it. That's about me.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You have so much going on. Well, congratulations, first of all, on your first. That is so
Thank
exciting.
you.
I'll be interested to
Yeah.
hear how you're going to blend that in with your business because I know everyone kind of has a different approach to that, but you are very much correct. I feel like you've lived a million different lives, like outside of your business and in your business. So that's awesome. And I feel like you probably have so
Yeah.
many different perspectives to share from that experience. So, one thing I wanted to start off by asking you, because it was really interesting, you put in your forum, you were talking about how you kind of took your like cute little side hustle and turned it into a multi-million-dollar business. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs like roll their eyes at the term like cute side hustle. So I'm curious to know for
Yeah.
you, I'm sure at the beginning of your business when you first launched it, people would call it that all the time. What was your reaction? How did you react to that? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's what I called it. So 12 years ago, I was working full time as an elementary school teacher and part time as a personal trainer, nights and weekends, because newsflash, you can barely live off of $50,000 a year in northern New Jersey, right outside New York City. So really, at the time, my husband was commuting into New York. I was a school teacher in Jersey. He would get home at like 9 o'clock at night every night. I was getting home at 3:25. I needed a way to help get more money in to help pay the bills. And also, I was just really bored. I was unfulfilled. And I had a lot of extra time. So after school, I would train clients. And in 2012, I started doing bodybuilding competitions. And I had hired a coach. She was in Massachusetts, but I lived in Jersey. And this was the first time I really saw what like digital coaching was, because every week she would send me my workout plans and my macros. And at the time, I had already been a trainer for 10 or 12 years. And I had this light bulb moment like, wait a minute, if I'm paying this lady through the internet and she's helping me with my fitness, like, what if I did that? I have so much experience as a trainer. So in 2012, I just emailed all my friends from college and high school. And I was like, okay, so you always wanted me to train you. We don't live in the same state. We don't live in the same town. Let's do it virtually. And so in 2012, friends started literally mailing me checks in the mail, like
Oh my
$79 a month.
gosh.
I was writing their workout plans, sending them through email. And it was a cute side hustle. Like I had no interest in being an entrepreneur. I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what coaching was. Truly, I came from a family of very traditional, like doctors, lawyers, accountants. I already felt very much like a failure for not going down the doctorate of physical therapy road, which is what I went to school for. So it just was like a little cute thing. And so that's what I called it. And it just started to evolve over the 5 years that I did it while I was still a school teacher, where all of a sudden I saw the trends and I was on Periscope. I don't know if you remember Periscope,
Yes.
but it was an app that a lot of us used, and I was doing lives every day on Periscope. And then ebooks became really popular in the fitness industry. So I was selling 12-week workout plan ebooks for $79. And I just was doing all these little things, paid Facebook groups, free Facebook groups, and didn't think it was anything. I really didn't. So
Mhm.
that wasn't like a triggering thing to me. I called it a cute side hustle. It was just like a little thing that I did on the side. And then I had gotten into network marketing as well, also a cute side hustle. So grateful for that though, because that is truly where I started to learn about marketing and sales
Mhm.
and flex my sales muscle, because I was cold calling
Hmm.
hundreds of people. It was ridiculous. Every day after school, I would spend an hour cold calling people. I mean, I got hung up on, I got no's left and right, but it was like that was the MBA, right? Like that
Yeah.
was my MBA in business, and I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, I did it for 5 years as a cute side hustle, totally part-time. And when I left my teaching job, I had not even come close to replacing my income. I was making 300 to about $1,000 a month in
Wow.
the cute side hustle. So not even close. But for me, I'm like a burn the boats kind of a
Yeah.
girl. And so I took the leap and I was like, I got to do it and just figure it out. And then 18 months after, I hit my first million.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so
Yeah.
obviously that was a very short period of time for you to hit your first million.
Yeah.
And I think you attribute a lot of that obviously to organic social media and kind of talk about that being your superpower. I'm really curious to know from
Hmm.
you, just because especially during the time when you got started, paid advertising, paid marketing was a really big trend at the time. I'm curious to know
Yeah.
why you went the organic route versus the paid route and kind of how that played out for you.
Yeah. I don't think I knew any better. Like looking back now, it's funny. My husband and I talk about it. I'm like, gosh, had we put ads down 10 years ago or 8 years ago, they were like pennies
Oh
on the
yeah.
dollar. It's such a joke. We have so many friends who just exploded their businesses back then with money putting into ads. But the only way that I knew and the only way that I saw, and I think I probably thought the only way possible was organic. Like I don't know that I even saw ads as something where like did I have enough overhead, and
Hmm.
I didn't know how to do it and I couldn't hire someone. I was very much in that fixed mindset still of like I have to do everything by myself and I don't have enough money to like hire people, which is not
Yeah.
true. But yeah, organic was just that was the way that I saw it. That was the way that I did it and it was working. So it was like don't rock the boat. I mean, it was working very, very well. It was just, it's easy. It was easy. I was showing up, but it was a different
Yeah.
time though. Like let's
To
call a spade a
remember
spade.
that.
I
Yeah.
mean, 10 years ago, yeah, like it was a very different time. Even 7 years ago when I left my job, very, very different time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a time where it was just insanely easy to get clients or customers from social media. It's like you could throw up a fake
Hmm.
testimonial, like so many people did. So crazy to me. I'm like, you literally faked your own testimonials and you ended up getting clients from that. That is insane.
What?
Nobody ended up knowing. It's crazy.
No.
No, so sad, but like
No.
that's the reality of a lot of what people did. So, Um, okay,
Yeah.
so I know you also mentioned that obviously with social media platforms leaning really hard into paid marketing, that was kind of a different time and it wasn't necessarily something that you felt like you had the overhead for. Nowadays,
Hmm.
people are leaning still into paid advertising, paid marketing. Like TikTok is running ads and encouraging people to run ads. A lot of people feel like they can't grow their accounts organically. So, flashing forward to kind of today, obviously, you still lean a lot into organic marketing. What would you say to somebody in that position who doesn't necessarily feel like they can grow their account organically?
Yeah, I just don't think it's true. I mean, we only teach organic. We are still 90% organic in our business. We'll only turn ads on right before we do like a big launch just to push people into our free experience, but we do not run conversion ads or anything like that. But I actually shut my account down about a year and a half ago. My social media account wasn't huge, but relative. My Instagram was about 30,000 followers. I shut the whole thing down, started a brand new account with a brand new name, very intentionally too, so that it wasn't an easy thing for people to necessarily find me or move over with me. And one of the reasons I did that was just to sort of get back into the trenches with my clients because, a lot of times it's like, oh, well, it's easy for you. You don't understand. You have all these followers. And I was like, all right, fine, like, let's do it. But the other thing was my own personal healing journey of just 40 years of awards and accolades and metrics and numbers and money like giving me my worth. And so it was like, let me start a new page, not with the intention that I have to grow it, but it's okay if I don't grow it.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are a year and a half later. It has not exploded by any stretch of the imagination, but we're over 10K and that was all
Yeah.
organic. And so it's possible. Our clients do it all the time. And that's what we teach. And that's how they get their results. And even for me, we did I believe we had done about 3.5 million before we ever started playing with ads. And if I'm being honest, a lot of it was my ego because so much of what we teach is organic. I'm like, I can't run ads. Like that's
Yeah.
hypocritical. That's crazy. Like I'm so proud of everything we've done organically. And then a mentor that I've been working with for 4 years, he lovingly was like, well, that's true. But if the mission is impact, then are you truly doing everything in your power to impact as many lives as possible? These people don't know about you. And if an ad could get your stuff in front
Right.
of them and you can help them, it was like, ooh, yeah, okay. And obviously at that point, like we have the team, we have the
Right.
overhead, like let's try it.
Right.
Let's try it. But I was very resistant that first year that we did any sort of ads. I did not like running
Yeah,
them.
no, I get that. I think any change, after you've been doing something, especially for how long you had been doing it organically, that is challenging, right? And so you have
Hmm.
to adapt. Like you said,
Yeah.
you had that fixed mindset, so you kind of have to adapt a different mindset around it. But I mean, I always say with ads and with organic content, I always encourage people, I'm like, you have to already have the machine built. Like you have to
Yes.
already be converting people left, right, and center, know exactly why it's happening, know exactly how to shift things if it's not happening organically. And then you can pour the money into the ads to really double down on those results. Because I always compare it, you're like
100%.
paying to go viral essentially, right? Like that's kind of how ads are
Hmm.
basically. And so even if you go viral, but you don't have something that's highly converting, you're wasting your money, right? So you guys were in the right
Yes.
place to run ads. You already had the machine built.
Sure.
But I can understand how obviously that shift would be a little challenging mindset wise, just because it's something that you'd been doing for so
Yeah.
long. So, but
Yeah.
I know with the majority of your clients, or it seems like most of what you teach obviously is still completely organic. I am curious to know what you
Mhm.
feel like are kind of the three like most important things or the key things to like have to do when you're really trying to grow your social media organically.
Ooh, the first thing that comes to mind is actually a mindset thing. So I have to go here
Yeah.
first because I think it's the foundation. It's detaching from the
Hmm.
outcome. Like we really truly we're meaning making machines. When we don't understand something, we make it mean
Hmm.
something. We create these stories. And I say all the time, if we can't allow our action, excuse me, we can't allow our results or our lack of results to dictate our actions, right? That would be the same thing as like every day you wake up, you look down at your body and you're like, "Oh, I don't see a new ab. I'm not going to work out today." Like the waist didn't shrink. That means I'm not going to do go for a walk or go to the gym. Like it's actually
Hmm.
ridiculous. And that's how a lot of people are approaching content and they're approaching their business. It's like if I don't see the engagement, the follower, if I don't see the comment, if I don't see the like, the DM, or the bank account change, then what's the point?
Hmm.
And I'm not going to do it. And it's like, well, now you're just in this vicious cycle. Like, of course, it's not going to grow. So I think the first and most important thing, honestly, is the mindset around detaching from the outcome and showing up regardless. Like, I look back at my first posts, my first 100 lives. It's like, it's
Hmm.
laughable. I mean, the amount of lives that I've done where nobody has shown up and I've lived to tell the tale. Like everything's okay. I'm here to tell you
Yeah.
about it, but I wouldn't be here today if I didn't put in the reps. And that's how you get better with content, especially. So I believe that C or D grade content can only turn into B or A grade content
Hmm.
through repetition. And there's so much clarity that comes from action, right? Action breeds clarity. And it's like you don't know you don't like olives until you taste olives. So you have to try it on for size. You have to learn and test and try and really listen to your audience. So number one is going to be the mindset. Number two, messaging is everything.
Hmm.
Everything. We were just kind of giggling about how 7, 10 years ago, the landscape was very different,
Hmm.
far less competitive, far less saturated. People use saturation right now as an excuse not to get started.
Hmm.
Saturation is not the problem. It is saturated. The industry, coaching, social media, digital marketing, it's very saturated. But what that means is it's then your responsibility to out sophisticate the
Hmm.
market. And so the best way we can out sophisticate the market is really lock the messaging in. And I think there's confusion sometimes around what messaging actually is. Because people talk so much about copy, right? Make sure you know how to learn how to write copy, and you have to have a good hook and a call to action. And while those things are true, copy is sort of the wrapping paper around
Hmm.
messaging. So if you think about like a children's book, uh, or like a fable, like the tortoise and the hare, the messaging of the tortoise and the hare is slow and steady wins the
Right.
race. But the story is about, I don't know his name, Peter Cottontail, and whoever the turtle's name is. Like there's a story that goes around that. And that's the copy,
Hmm.
right? So understanding messaging is everything. Messaging is going to be the difference between people just saying like, I love your content, and actually buying
Yeah.
from you. And it's a skill. It's a skill and it's a practice.
Hmm.
And there's a level in which it's your job, again, it's your responsibility as a business owner to go deeper on things like the ideal client. And I think now it's like you could throw a rock on the internet and find a coach teaching you ideal client and niche, and that's not enough anymore because again, we have to out sophisticate. So it's, do you really want to make six figures online? Is that your like core desire? Do you really want to just lose weight? Or is it actually you haven't been intimate with your partner with the lights on in 6 months and you haven't
Mm-hmm.
initiated because you feel like garbage about yourself. It's not about weight loss. It's about something so much
Right.
deeper. It's not about making six figures. It's like you want to be able to admittedly take Pilates at 2 o'clock in the
Right.
afternoon on a Tuesday and get coffee with a girlfriend for 4
Yep.
hours. Like the core desire is the thing people don't want to say out
Mm-hmm.
loud. And so I think messaging is huge, huge. It's arguably like the most important part of
Yeah.
content right now. So the mindset I would say is huge. Messaging is really, really big. And then this is such a lame answer, but it's the consistency.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about with the mindset portion. It's, clients will often ask me, how many times should I post? And I'm like, what a bizarre question. The quality of your question will determine the quality of your answers. Now, it's not a bad or stupid, wrong question. It's just like, well, how often do you want people to know about your business? And when we don't post, it's the equivalent to having a close sign on your door of a brick and
Yeah.
mortar. Like imagine you had a brick and mortar and the close sign was up and you had like blackout wallpaper or something on all the windows and you just were never open. It's like, well, how do you expect to get customers or foot traffic?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a digital business, this is your foot traffic, and you'd be foolish to not take advantage of the fact that we do have these free marketing tools. So consistently showing up, creating that rapport, nurturing your clients, nurturing your audience, finding that brand voice really to stand out, building the authority, credibility, all the things that everybody says, but it comes with consistently showing up. Like you kind of have to. And I am not a huge advocate of like be married to your phone 24/7. I
Right.
have a life. I am 40. I don't want to be married to social media. But and also,
Mm-hmm.
this is the game, right? Like this is the business we're in and it's free marketing. So how can you figure out strategies that work for you? How can
Yep.
you outsource things? How can you batch things? But yeah, consistency of telling people what you do.
Yeah, I love that. No, I always say it takes people 8 to 12 times of you saying something for them to even like actually consider purchasing from your business. It's pretty crazy. And
Yeah.
so I always say it's like, okay, think about if you only told them once a week. That's 2 months minimum that they have to hear over and over
Right.
and over about your offering, about your business, about your product in order to even consider actually buying from you versus if you told them every day for 2 weeks, even if it was just on weekdays, boom, you might potentially have a
Yeah.
sale in 2 weeks versus 2 months. So I love the question of,
And you're not top of mind when you're spreading it out that
right,
much.
exactly. I mean, there's so much more to it, right? But I love the idea
Yeah.
of like, this is your foot traffic. And the question is not like, how often do I post? The question is, how often do I want people to know about my business and how quickly do I want them to buy? So I love that. Um, on the other side of the coin, obviously we just talked about the most important things to growing your business and to growing your social media organically. What would you say are things that are like a absolute no-go? Please avoid this at all costs when trying to grow your social media. We could talk about
Oh
this for a
gosh.
while, I'm sure.
Anything I'm going to say is coming from personal experience, so take what you want, leave the rest, right? But I think there are a lot of very flashy marketing techniques that are out there that are really sexy and really appealing. And whether that's something like buying followers, which is something a lot of people did actually like 10 years ago, which is crazy, but you don't need to buy followers. You also don't need to buy media and press. A lot of times my clients they'll take a screenshot of a DM and send it to me and be like, should I do this? And it's like, $1,000 to get your name in Forbes. And I'm like, absolutely not.
No.
Like, absolutely not. It is not going to convert. It is not worth it. Like I've had the pleasure of having all of those things for free and none of them convert. Like the amount of press and magazines and TV shows, like I'm super grateful, but it's just like a feather in your cap. It's
Right.
not actually going to do anything, right? It doesn't move the needle. So not spending your money on stuff like that. If you are in a place where you're starting to outsource and hire, gosh, do not hire for your problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like throwing money at a problem is not going to fix the problem. And it's also not going to teach you anything. I have spent so much money throwing money at problems over the years. And for me, it took a couple lessons, a couple times of it to happen before I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I keep doing the same pattern and the same habit. So hiring for a problem, not going to solve the problem. Figure it out yourself. I'd also say pivoting, same thing. I always say pause before you pivot because so often, especially beginners in business, they try something and it quote unquote doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they pivot or they jump ship. And that pattern is going to keep you in the same place forever because you're not learning. Like I tell my clients, I don't mean deserve as in worthiness, but like you don't deserve to pivot yet until you figured it out.
Very
So
true.
if your launch didn't work, stop, do it again, figure it out, figure out why it's not working. Was it your messaging? Was it your lack of runway? Was it you don't have enough leads? Was it you're not clear on your offer? Figure it out, make it
Yeah.
work. And once it's worked, then if you want to pivot and bring that information with you into something new, well, now you have a blueprint to
Yep.
follow, right? It's kind of like an architect or construction team building a building. I used to live in Manhattan, so I always think of like tall buildings in New York. But imagine they were building a building in New York and they got to the third floor and the whole thing just crumbled. And they were like, nah, screw it. Let's go to the next block and try it
Right.
again. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, fix it, build it to the 60th floor, and then take that blueprint that you built to the 60th floor, take the team that helped you build it, take everything that you
Yeah.
know, and then go replicate it.
Mhm.
Right. And that is actually scaling. So people look at building businesses as a little bit different. It's like building it as vertical, figure it out. Once you figured it out and you have systems in place and you've replicated it, or you can replicate it, then you go horizontally,
Mhm.
and that's how you scale. And then you build the same thing again and again. And not scaling is not for everybody. I think that's also really important. That's a huge mistake people make, where they think we blindly follow other people's
Yeah.
goals, right? Savannah has a podcast. I have to have a podcast. Like, this one spoke on stage. This one's doing a TED talk. This one has a membership. That one's, because success does leave clues.
Mhm.
And so we see it and we're like, okay, well, if that's what she's doing or he's doing, then I should do that too. And it's like, hold on,
Right.
build your business around your life, not your life around your business. Do you even want to do that? Do you even like talking? Do you like interviewing people? Do you want to have a membership that you have an ongoing forever relationship with your
Right.
clients? Do you want to do start, stop, launching? Like, really asking yourself those questions and not blindly following other people's models or goals is also something that I think is just really, really important,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to get caught up in what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, I love that. And it was really interesting. You were talking about like pivoting, your industry, if or your launch or any of those things if it doesn't work. And I always say the same thing of strategy, right? There's so many people where it's like, oh, well, I tried for 2 weeks to implement this one organic social strategy and it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Therefore, I need to change things. It's like, no, 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 no. You're trying to change things. And this also even just goes for investing. It goes for so many things in general. You're trying to implement a solution when you don't even know what
Mm-hmm.
the problem is. I think so often, so many people with
Yeah.
socials struggle with that, or who are trying to market and sell on socials, right? So
Yeah.
I love that you,
You just haven't given it enough
right?
time. I always use fitness, but it's like, could you imagine doing
No,
bicep curls for 2 weeks and being like, nope, didn't get biceps. I'm like, I'm going to go do something else. It's like, what? That's
right. No,
ridiculous.
I just joked with my trainer last night. We did
Yeah.
a really hard workout. I was like, if I don't have a six pack tomorrow, I'm not coming back. She's like, yeah, because that's how it works. I was like, I know it's not how it works, but I just want to complain. It's fine. No, I totally
Yeah.
get that. Something that I also
Mhm.
noticed that you had mentioned, and obviously you've said it a lot during our chat, was that people can absolutely create a super successful online course without having a big following, without having paid ads or spending hours on one-on-one calls. You've mentioned a lot of stuff to grow your social media here. Is there anything you feel like they absolutely do need to have a successful online course that sells really easily?
Yeah. If I could go back and do something sooner, build an email list.
Yeah.
So this is huge. Build an email list. Social media is amazing, but we don't own social media. We don't own these platforms. We don't own our list. We don't own our
Mm-hmm.
followers. So if Zucks decides to shut it down tomorrow, or you get hacked or something happens, do you have a way to actually communicate with your people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there have been times where I've taken a week or two off social media completely and we're still making sales. And so the question then comes up, like, how are you making sales if you're not launching on social
Right.
media? And the answer is through our email list, right? So you want to make sure you have an email list. That's something that you own. You have a way that you can connect with your people on a deeper level. They still show statistically that majority of people are buying through email, whether the email is just acting as a reminder or it's more information. People are using social media for a lot of different things. I think Instagram very much has become a search. It is not a search engine. So it's not YouTube or Google or Pinterest. It's not a search engine, but we are using it as a search
Mm-hmm.
engine. We're going into the search bar. We're looking for things, finding people, kind of poking around. It's kind of become sales page and website. And so people are using it that
Mm-hmm.
way. All the different platforms are different. TikTok is still very much community driven, entertainment driven, stuff like that. LinkedIn is going to be a little bit different, but again, building an email list, it's just a different way that you can communicate with your people. There's also so much beauty. We always say structure creates freedom. We're huge advocates in our company of the more structure we have, the more freedom we have. And when you have something like email, you can have an entire email sequence, a whole funnel, everything ready to go, planned out, automated, scheduled, and just with, the click of a button,
Mhm.
everything gets fired off, and like I don't have to do anything. So building an email list is going to be really, really crucial for your business for
Yeah,
sure.
I love that. And I think it's something that so often people overlook because it's like old news or any of those things. And just because it's a tried and
Hmm.
true strategy doesn't mean it still doesn't work. I was just chatting with a client this morning. She's like, "Yeah, I have 30,000 people on my email list. I haven't sent an email in a year." I'm like, "Okay, we need to talk
Oh,
about that one." Yeah, because I mean, people
yeah.
just overlook it so easily. So, and
Hmm.
can be a huge difference maker in your sales, obviously. So I love that. And also, I think it
Yeah.
goes back to really aligning your strategies and your structure with your values, right? So you talked about like, I just took a week or two off of social media. If you're someone who wants to create sales but doesn't want to be tied to their phone consistently, how are you utilizing your other platforms, avenues to create sales for you without you having to actively show up? So that's a huge one as
Yeah.
well, for sure. I am
Yeah.
curious, just because you use social media so much, what's your favorite platform right now and why?
So Instagram is our like hub for
Hmm.
business. That's where we do all of our marketing and sales, the majority of our sales truly. If I'm being completely honest, I'm not a
Yeah,
scroller. I've been on social media for so many years and it's my
yeah,
job. And so it's not really enjoyable for me to scroll. I will say though, if I am going to scroll for something, it's
yeah,
TikTok,
yeah. No, I'm the
admittedly.
exact same way, honestly. Everyone's like, "Do you have personal social media?" I'm like, "No," because it's work. I
No.
do not scroll social media
Yeah.
endlessly. And if I am scrolling, it's honestly that I'm looking for something specifically that I can use as like a
Same.
reference point in content or any of those things. I'm definitely
Hmm.
not scrolling for entertainment. So I love that. I think,
It's always so funny when I'm with people, like even my
yeah,
husband, where he'll be scrolling. I'm like, how are you
yeah,
why do you do
yeah,
that? Like if I didn't run the business on it, I wouldn't
right.
be on it. Like I wouldn't have
Yeah,
Instagram if I truly
no,
wouldn't. I think I'm also at the cusp where like we didn't have social media growing up, and
right,
I wouldn't miss it. It's not like a thing that I feel like I need to be a part of necessarily. Um, and I teach
right.
it and I talk about it and I'm on it. So yeah, I'm not like a huge scroller, but I love Pinterest for like we're setting up a nursery right now. So I've been on Pinterest because that's fun.
Yeah,
And then yeah, TikTok is more of the like zoning out if I am gonna scroll around. But I think I just like their algorithm. I
yeah,
think it's really cool how like the longer
yeah.
you watch something, then it just shows you more of that. You're like, oh, this is crazy. Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah. No, I love it. Or how like you'll be talking about something with a girlfriend, you open up your phone, it's a TikTok video of it. Like,
Yeah.
that's terrifying, honestly. Like, I don't know that I like that
No.
one. No, I'm the exact same way. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our
Oh
audience?
gosh. I'll drop like a little nugget and then yeah, we can kind of leave
Give
it
us a
there.
nugget.
So one of my favorite quotes people ask sometimes is one of the Steve Jobs quotes, and he said, "You can't connect the dots looking forwards, you can only connect them looking back, and you have to trust that they'll appear." And I see them as like little breadcrumbs, right? And so when I tell my story now, I'm 40 years old, I've been in this industry for a while, things come up, and in the moment, it didn't make sense. In the moment, I didn't know where I was going. I still don't know where I'm going. Like, I have no idea what this next chapter or season is going to look like. But when I look back, I'm like, oh, duh. Well, that makes sense. Of course, I was a teacher. Of course, I was doing public speaking. Of course, I took this course. Of course, I took that course, right? Even things that we perceive as negative, like that client who burned you, or you had to fire someone, or someone quit on your team. Like all of the things, when I look back, make sense, and they've gotten me here. So there's just an element again of that like trust and surrender. Stop like white knuckling the process, and really truly entrepreneurship is, you have to fall in love with if you don't love the process, like you're in the wrong game. And I think for
Yeah.
me, the personal development work over the years, which I've done so much of, is just understanding, becoming more aware of myself, more accepting of myself, and then taking more action, right? Those are the 3 A's. And so really ask yourself this question while you're listening to this. There's sort of like the Ferris wheel or the merry-go-round, where it's like certainty and it's kind of the same thing over and over. And that was my life as a teacher. And some people love that, like to know that your paycheck is coming in and it's back to school night and we're at the holiday fair, and it's just so like comfortable. And then there's the entrepreneurship, which is a roller coaster. And we entrepreneurs live for
Hmm.
the drops and the highs, and the lows really suck. And you have to figure out a way to get yourself out of the lows. But looking at those two things and knowing yourself, like I actually thrive in uncertainty. Like I said, I burn the boats. Like I'm an all in type of girl. So check yourself real quick, because entrepreneurship, the coaching industry, digital marketing has been trending for a couple years, and it's very cool and
Mhm.
trendy to be a part of it. And it almost feels like I've worked with so many clients who are like, I thought I was supposed to do this, or I thought that I was, again, blindly following. I thought I had to leave my 9 to 5 job. Isn't that the dream? We all want the digital nomad freedom lifestyle. And it's like, but that might not be true for you. So pause, take a moment, take a
Yeah.
breath, really ask yourself some deep questions. Are you more of a Ferris wheel, or are you more of a roller coaster? There's no judgment. We need both. But really sit with that, because you just don't know. The doing is the destination. The doing is the destination. Like, this is
Mhm.
it. The process is the whole thing. So I would say that. And then if you're interested in connecting, come find me on Instagram. That's where I hang out most. I'm at I am Jessica DeRose, and we've got lots of stuff going on. We have a monthly membership called the Club, which is our entry level investment, but not entry level at all. We have 7-figure entrepreneurs in there as well. So everyone and anyone is welcome to that. We've got a bunch of different courses. We've got mentorship programs. We've got all sorts of stuff. I have a podcast. We do 3 episodes a week, Digital Business Evolution podcast. So come find me, come say hi.
I love that. Well, that was going to be my next question, is where can people find you
No,
and just get more of
perfect.
you? So you answered that question. Well, thank you again so much for chatting with me. I loved every part of this conversation. I think that that last nugget you dropped, I was going to add a couple of things. I'm like, you honestly covered it all. There was really nothing left to
Oh,
say there. So thank you again for chatting with me. And I so appreciated it. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. All right.
thanks so
Bye,
much for having me.
guys.